Hello folks, and welcome back to Wonder of Watches. My wife has been getting on to me about my pronunciation of Wonder of Watches. I tend to go Wonder of Watches, which is very Irish. Anyway, happy Halloween. I hope you aren't too spooked out by the introduction there. That's the Shining, obviously a massive influence, one of my favourite movies. Anyway, I'm going to take a look today at the Sinn 556A. To celebrate Halloween and the fact that we've reached 500 subscribers on Wonder of Watches. I'm going to do a giveaway at the end of the video, and I'm going to be giving away this guy, this Omega Seamaster Spectre. It's a homage, of course. It's not the real thing. I wouldn't be giving that away. I don't even own it. I'm going to give it away. It's an AliExpress special, so stay tuned to the end and see how you can win this pretty cool watch. Ceramic bezel inserts, domed sapphire crystal. It's quite a nice piece. The dial is a bit of a letdown, but if you want it, stay tuned to the end of the video. Okay, so on to the Sinn then. Now, I've craved this watch for a long time, and then Sinn, well, they sent me out their catalogue this year. Really, that was what pushed me over the edge, and I had to get this watch. Now, I have a good quality diver with the Tudor Black Bay 58, and so I wanted a really good everyday watch. My grail would be an Explorer or an Oyster Perpetual, but I'm not quite in that space yet, so I think this is a fantastic alternative. And also, I was really taken with the Bell & Ross BR V293 that I received for review from David from the Dublin Watch Group, and I really wanted to get a watch with a kind of a similar dial layout. And so this is the Sinn 556A, the A standing for Arabic numerals, big ones at 3, 6, 9 and 12. Okay, so this has the Arabics at 3, 6, 9 and 12. There's also a 556I, which has a glossier black dial and stick indices for hour and minute markers. Now both the 556A and 556I also have red second-hand versions. Now on to the next page. There's also mother of pearl versions, and they wouldn't interest me as much now. And then there's also in the 556 range, we've got these sunburst electroplated versions, both coming in a mocha and a blue color. They're very nice and very popular as well. So plenty of options, and that's not to mention the bracelet options, which you can see some of them there. Of course, I bought this one on the famous H-Link bracelet. Okay, so let's take some measurements. We'll examine the movement and take a closer look at the watch. So diameter, if I go from maybe 2 to 8, got 38.4 mil. It's got a lug width there of just around the 20 mil mark. The watch has a height of 11.2. That's a lovely height, especially for smaller wrists. And we've got a lug to lug there of just 45, just over 45 mil. So it's a really nice case. It's perfect size for smaller wrists. Now the watch also has a screw down crown. It's got anti-magnetic qualities, and it's water resistance to 20 bar or 200 meters. Now in terms of the case then, it's a relatively small watch, as we've seen, the diameter 38 mil thereabouts, but because it's all dial, it wears more like a 40 mil piece. But Sinn haven't wasted any steel here, and aside from the lugs and the crown guards, the case doesn't extend beyond the watch bezel. This is the complete opposite in terms of design language compared to, say, a Seiko Turtle or any other watch that utilizes a cushion style case. The lugs too are similarly frugal in design and are really quite thin. They are drilled at the sides there for easy strap changes. You can see that satinized finish on the flanks. The watch is satinized on every surface, in fact. The top, the flanks, the back of course, and the bracelet has the same finish And that finish, it further enforces this tool-like aesthetic with a surface that is less likely to show scratches than a highly polished alternative. However, even though this is the ultimate utilitarian watch, there is an art to the case. The satinized finish still plays really nicely with the light and gives the watch a very sporty, elegant aesthetic. The lines are striking but not sharp. The flow from the top of the lugs to the flanks of the case is very smooth despite the lack of any bevels here. The ends of the lugs are also smoothed over there to eliminate any sharpness without any kind of obvious truncation. This is the ultimate balance of form and function, and as is the dial. The focus of the dial is entirely on the hours, minutes and seconds. This is easily the most legible watch I have ever handled. It literally takes a fraction of a second to read the time. There's a clear relationship here between this watch and Sinn's pilot watches and cockpit clocks. The date window, it also takes a position at the 4:30. It uses a black background and white typeface, so it disappears into the dial unless you need it. Very similar to the Bell & Ross that I reviewed. I love a date on a watch, but always feels that it interferes with the symmetry of the watch. Sinn have somehow managed to include a date window but maintain complete symmetry of the dial. It's really quite something. The Arabic numerals themselves and the indices are huge. They're very much oversized, and as are the hands on this watch. So legibility is fantastic. The lume shines brightly initially, but I think it fades quite quickly, as unlike any of my Seikos, when I seek out the time in the middle of the night, the lume, is no longer there to help me. Now, the crystal, we've got a flat sapphire crystal, and it adds to the legibility of the dial because it gets an AR coating on both the top side and the underside. Now, some are not fans of AR coatings on the top side as it can show up scratches. And you can see actually a lot of people remove it. I don't know how they remove it. I have no intention of removing it because for me, it's one of my absolute favorite things about this watch. The crystal just disappears and you think you can almost touch the dial and hands. It's fantastic. The bracelet. Now, the H-Link bracelet is fully articulated. It's extremely comfortable and fits the wrist extremely well. The end link's fitment to the lugs is excellent and it suits the style of the watch wonderfully. Now, I've contacted Sinn about ordering additional straps, in particular their fine link bracelet, and there's no issue in ordering them after the event. There doesn't seem to be any kind of ridiculous premium added either for ordering additional bracelets. In fact, I was quoted €320 for the fine link bracelet. If I had bought it on the watch initially, it would have cost an additional €290. So a small €30 premium, but nothing ridiculous like you might see with Rolex or Tudor. So you can buy this on the strap bracelet, fine link bracelet, H-link bracelet, and the option is there to change it after the fact. Now, sizing the bracelet I found to be quite tricky. The screw pins there, if you can see them, if I can get that to focus, you know, they're hexagonal screw heads. Now, Sinn provides you, I'll show you these. I'll show you these now, just so you see them. You get two Allen keys, two hexagonal shaped Allen keys, and you need both of them to resize the bracelet. Because if you go with one alone, it just twists. So you need to get the second one and pop it in there to hold the screw in place while you twist it, and you're unscrewing like a male screw from a female pin, if you know what I mean. So it's not the easiest thing to do because you're trying to hold the watch up off the desk, use two Allen keys and unscrew those pins. But having said that, once you're done, it's absolutely as solid as a rock, and you can get a good fit on it too, because there's some 3 micro adjustments on the clasp there. Not the easiest to focus in on. There we go. Okay, again you can see that satinized finished on everything, and a signed clasp, of course. Now, the only issue I have with the bracelet is the clasp, and my issue here involves a diver's extension, which I think is a tad unnecessary, because it's not really a diver's watch. Does Sinn obviously think people appreciate the option, so I'll show you that there now. So we've got this additional safety clasp there. Now let me just show you this. So it's a tension held clasp, but it operates slightly different to other clasps. Other clasps, they normally have a kind of a protruding thing here that clasps onto something at this end. This doesn't. You see that thin cut there in this part of the clasp? Well, that has very small protruding parts on either side. And on this part of the clasp, it has just small, very hard to get this to focus, small holes just to house those parts of it. So it's actually held in place. It's this milled out mechanism here that holds it in place. And this part of the milled mechanism clasps onto this part, and that's what keeps it in place. It's a really, I haven't seen anything like that, and it's very robust. It's excellent. But on the other side, you have this diver's extension. And you'll see how hard it is for me to take it off, because there we go. So it's really held in tight. But the problem is when it's closed, you've got this gap here. Slight gap, and it just pivots on the part that's held in place, and it accounts for the only rattle in the watch. But that's the only problem I have with the bracelet and the watch. Other than that, it's absolutely perfect. Okay, so the movement then. The movement is a Sellita. It's an SW200. It's visible through the sapphire crystal caseback, and Sinn offers some nice decoration here with a signed golden rotor and blued screws. The movement is effectively the same as an ETA 2824. It offers a date function, hacking and hand winding. It utilises 26 joules, operates at a frequency of 4 Hz or 28,800 BPH, and offers 38 hours of power reserve. Also, I'm not sure if Sinn have done any additional regulation here, but my watch only gains about 3 to 4 seconds per day. So fantastic. Now the crown is really super. It's signed, but its operation is on a par with that of luxury watches. It even has that little idiosyncrasy you find on luxury crowns, where there is an additional kind of, if you can see this now, there, just a spring-aided pop just before you wind the watch. Now my Tudor BB58 and Seamaster also have that little pop. Aligning the threads and screwing the crown back in is just sublime. It's a superb quality crown. So to conclude then, the watch is entirely German in its execution. It balances form and function perfectly. I will admit that when I took it out of the box, I was a little underwhelmed by its simplicity. But there is beauty in simplicity. This watch is the ultimate grower. The longer you spend with it, the more you bond with it, and I'm really delighted with it, I have to say. The more you look at it, the more you see that it does the simple things extremely well. And yet, you know it can function without equal in the most severe conditions, with its water resistance and anti-magnetism. I wanted a quality everyday watch, but at a reasonable price, and I think Sinn have nailed it here, and it has now exceeded my expectations. It's the Roy Keane of watches. sorry to my German friends. More like the Lothar Matthäus of watches. Thanks very much. Now, just onto that giveaway. So all I want you to do to be in with a chance of winning the Corgeut Seamaster, this guy here, ceramic inserts, domed bezel, not a fantastic dial. It's a sandwich dial though, similar to the Spectre. It's 50 lug to lug, but it wears quite well. It's got quite a nice action on the bezel. Anyway, all you need to do, subscribe to the channel and just tell me what the favorite watch is in your collection in the comments down below. So subscribe, add a comment, tell me what your favorite watch is in this collection, and this watch could be yours. I'll ship to anywhere in the world, so rest assured. So thanks very much. Good luck everyone. Ben.